I'd like to call to order the USD 489 School Board meeting for July 17th, 2023 to order. I want to welcome all of our guests tonight. It is nice and cool in here. We are broadcasting, I believe, a live link tonight. I saw that on the website, so we have people joining the live link also. The board docs have had the agenda since Friday afternoon. I want to thank Jess. We had some problems getting board docs out because of not anything she was doing, but the national board doc, website or whatever was down on Friday. So all the board members got it a little bit later than usual. They were trying to get it out, but could not get it entered and sent out. So technology is great when it works. So again, I want to welcome everyone. Second, 1.2, I want to have the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion to and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion?
Mr. President, I would like to add two agenda items.
Do you want to separate them and make two different motions?
We have a motion on the table, though, to approve it.
Okay, we need to vote. This part of the discussion.
So I didn't have the opportunity, and it wasn't, she did so moved instead of.
No, that's a second. You so moved the agenda
I moved
and a
it.
second.
Yeah.
Okay.
I call for a vote to approve the agenda. All in favor, vote yes.
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 All opposed, vote no.
No.
Thank you. .3, the 489 District Mission, Vision, Core Values, and Strategic Plan. I want to just quickly go over that. It gives me a good reminder, the board, everybody that is out there. The mission of the USD 489 is to provide a quality learning experience for every student in every classroom every day. To support the mission of the district, the USD 489 Board of Education includes supporting a vision that encompasses high student achievement, 2, highly effective staff, effective and positive communications, and effective management of resources. Also vital to keeping focus on the district's mission and vision are the USD 489 Board supports the district core values, being a champion for all kids, bringing your best every day, carrying the banner for your school and district, selling and creating possibilities and opportunities for students for their futures. Okay, in the July meeting, we have our reorganization of the Board of Education. There are a lot of agenda items, both on the agenda and on the consent agenda tonight. But the first on the 2.1 is the election of the board president. I would like to make a motion to elect Ken as our board president for next year.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Ken as the board president for the next school year starting in the next few minutes. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none?
Mr. President,
Yes.
are these items of discussion in the consent agenda?
No, if you read it's above the consent agenda.
Okay, I'm
Consent
sorry.
agenda is 3.
That was on the agenda.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. I call for the vote to elect Ken as the board president for next school year, or next board year. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, vote no. 7-0. That is the way I hoped it would be with that. So I will move seats at this time.
While you're moving seats, I'd like to publicly thank Craig Pallister for his leadership as board president and all the time you've dedicated for that. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
And for being your vice.
Thank you.
Greg, thank you.
Okay, let's take a second. All right, and as we're moving things and getting settled, I want to thank Craig also. He's been in a leadership role for the last 3 years, 2 as vice president and 1 as president, and he's done so much for our school board, and I do appreciate it. Thank you so much, Craig.
Thank you.
And so with that, I don't know when I'll get a chance to pound that.
Just want to make that count.
Yeah, wanted to pick it up, feel it for a minute. But we'll continue on, and I'd like to start by nominating for vice president. I'd like to make the motion to nominate Craig Pallister for vice president.
And I'll step in real quick. I am going to decline your nomination. It's heartfelt that you nominated me, but after 3 years in a leadership position, I need to step back and see how the board election goes. If I am elected by the board patrons, I will come back and hope with the blessing of the board to take a leadership position, but not at this time.
All right. Then I'll open it up to any nominations.
I'd like to make the motion to, I'd like to nominate Megan Lil,
I second
Deputy
it.
Lil Pop for vice president.
Second.
Thank you.
Any discussion? I would like to nominate Kurt Feiner. Well, this has been nominated in second, so we do have that on there. We need to vote here first. Am I correct on that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And so, without any, if there's no other discussion, I call for a vote. Let's see. Is there anything else I need to say? I call for a vote for the nomination of Megan Zampier Lil Pop for vice president. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Okay. It sounds like it was approved. Is that? It says I'm logged in, Jess, but it's not popping up on this.
What was your verbal vote?
No.
Motion passed.
Okay, motion passed. So welcome aboard as vice president.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Congratulations.
And then we'll go to 2.3. And this is, I would like to make the motion to approve the appointment of Jess Railing as board clerk and keeper of the records for 2023 through 2024, and Renee Booth as deputy board clerk per KSA 72-8202C. Second that motion. Okay. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor, vote yes.
Yes. Yes.
All those opposed, vote no. All right, hearing no no's, I take it that that's approved. All right, item 2.4, election of board treasurer. I'd like to make the motion to appoint Carla Fellholter, and I hope I said that right, as the board treasurer for 2023 through 2024.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, vote yes.
Yes.
All opposed, vote no. All right, hearing no no's, I take it with that's approved too. All right, consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'd like to second
Seconded.
that.
Mr. President, I'd like to pull out 2 items on the consent agenda. All right. I'd like to pull out 3.13. Well, instead of pulling out a lot, I have
one question. Are any of these positions that are on here, Mr. Wilson, different than last year?
Are you talking 3.13?
No, I'm talking about all the other ones, like I know the principals are the same, but are any of the, like the information officer, all those are the same?
No, they're all
the same?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like to pull out 3.13.
3.13.
I
Yeah.
don't know what that is.
The hour school calendar?
Yes. Is that the same as last year, or is that changed?
Yeah, that's all the same.
Okay, and that can stay. And the petty cash has changed, or is it the same?
Same.
And I would like to pull out the attorney contract. Have some discussion on that.
What number is that?
And I have that.
Yeah, 3.5.
Yes, 3.5. And then personnel transactions.
Can we repeat what those were again? I guess Jess, when you get that.
3.5 board attorney contract. And 3.25 personnel transactions.
And what else?
Was it just the two items?
Just two?
Just two, because those others
It goes down to 3.
said they weren't changed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Confused.
So
Okay.
you pulled out the board attorney contract, and you pulled out personnel.
Yes.
Okay.
Are those numbers not the same? I have this printed off. Have they changed?
No, they're not the same when I move them down, but they were right, as you said.
Okay, thank you.
And will those become 7.8 and 7.9?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, you'll need to refresh
Right
now.
now.
We're ready? Okay.
All right, go ahead and refresh. All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as is now.
Can you tell me who made the motion?
Tammy made the motion, I believe. Is that right,
I
Tammy?
thought I seconded it.
Oh,
I thought Craig
I think I
motioned.
did the motion.
Craig
Okay.
motioned
Okay,
it.
Craig is.
It's been too long.
All those in favor vote yes?
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed vote no. All right. All right, motion passes. We will move now to 4.1, public comment. For those who would like to make public comment, the board requests that all members of the public respect our rules, that everyone, so that everyone that wants an opportunity to provide input will be given the chance. Speakers are asked to start with stating your name and address, where you reside. You're limited to 3 minutes, and speakers are asked to make only points that have not been made previously. Except to ask clarifying questions, the board members will not interact, and the board asks that all members of the public respect these rules so that everyone who wants an opportunity can get it. Do we have anyone here tonight who wants to speak?
I'm Becky Hill from Hayes, and I want to talk on the issue of the restrooms and the bathrooms. It should not be a closed deal. It is wrong. It is wrong. The innocence of the children is not for you to take. It is for you to protect. And every person, I'd say probably, unless you're really young, in this room, let alone up here, when you went to school, boys' bathrooms were for boys, girls' bathrooms were for girls. And it needs to remain that way. And this new concept up at the high school is wrong. And it is wrong and disrespectful to this community. But it's also wrong in the fact that you again try and take the innocence of the children, which is not for you to take. So they need to have a place where they can have privacy and dignity, safety, be safe, take their time. Anybody that designed these, anybody especially an adult man or woman, that thinks that this is okay, I don't understand. I don't understand why you think it's okay when we say, no, it's not okay. And so to me, it seems like critical thinking skills are really in jeopardy. Where are they? But those all the kids in the main, sinks and this and that, no. You need to have separate accommodations where they're not crossing paths in the fullness of what they're doing, as far as using the bathroom, washing their hands, talking with their friends, whatever it is. You need to have, and you look quizzical, and so I'm like, how in the world can that be when it is black and white issue? And so please, the innocence of the children, it's not for you to decide when and how. It is for you to protect. It's for you to protect. So I don't care if you have to cut every office room in half in this new building to make enough bathrooms to be able to have boys in a bathroom, girls in a bathroom. Not mixed, period. We're talking about birth. You're shaking your head. I'm sorry. It's a black and white issue. It's common sense. So please, honor and respect the community that is putting the money out for this to be built.
Thank you for your time. Anybody else want to speak? All right, at this time, we'll move on to 5.1, the Hayes High School. Oh, wait, am I?
There's another.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did
That's
not
all right,
see you,
thank
sir.
you. You couldn't see me.
I couldn't, I'm sorry.
I think you made a mistake according to Robert's Rules of Orders on your second vote. You opened the category for nominations and you closed it after one. You got a second to include her in the category, but you should have asked for any other nominations. And I don't know the book that well, but I believe that's a mistake.
Oh, sir, we don't follow the Robert's Rules of Orders. I appreciate that, but the way we did that is the way that it's always been done here on the board when I looked at past elections and everything.
You do not follow Robert's Rules of Orders. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, it's outlined in policy, sir. It
So
very
you can
specifically
close,
says it
you
in
can
the
close
policy
the
that we
category
don't.
when you want. You opened the category for nominations.
That's not what we did.
He said, do I have any nominations?
That's what I understood.
That's exactly what he said.
It is.
Guidelines and procedures say specifically that we do not follow Robert's Rules of Order. So opening for nominations, I'm sorry, we're a little out of
Not
order.
really an agenda item.
Yeah,
That's,
Yeah.
that's my only comment.
Yeah. Apologies.
yeah. All right. Any other public comments? All right. We will move on to Section 5, presentations and the Hayes High School logo brand redesign. And Principal Henderson and I've got to put my glasses on. And Vice Principal Meader?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, Mr. Meader, I'm sorry, I'm reading it wrong.
So just to kind of kick this off, the last, Mr. Henderson will probably speak to this, but this all is a result of our work last year in terms of meeting with our community to talk about our logo, mascot, how we wanted to, after all was said and done, we remained the Indians, but there were some things that were decided by the board. And so part of that was the redesign of our current mascot, logo, brand. And so what has been done the last couple months is been led by Henderson and Mr. Mader. They've just done a fabulous job, and they're here to share what has happened and the results of what has happened, which is very exciting.
Okay, thanks for having us. We just kind of wanted to give you an overview of what this looks like. In the end, you'll get to see the actual design and from the hard work of our team. And so we'll get started. When we first met, we started to talk about what the non-negotiables were, what the goals were coming out of the spring and the conversation that the board had in terms of the Hayes High Indians, like Mr. Wilson just said. From that, we came up with these. One completely new unified logo and brand for all. One of the subgroups from that spring conversation was walk through the building and point out all the different logos. It was to the tune of 40 maybe. All right, so that's that bullet point. Second is that we are proudly the Hayes High Indian. That was the vote from the board, and we took that, and that's the direction that we went. And then maroon and gold are our colors, but as an expert would tell you, and he will, that's not good enough. We have to know what the hex code is. We have to know what the Pantone color is so that we can absolutely define what those are. And then another directive that came out of that conversation from the spring is we were not going to use a human face or a likeness in the new design. We were going to do it with our team at the high school, and Mr. Mader was going to be our designer. So that was kind of where we started. The timeline was when we reached out to our coaches, our teachers, and activity sponsors, and some community business partners that came in. We had 3 meetings where we just talked. And it was a lot like what we did in the spring, except we started to say, if those were the non-negotiables, how would we represent this logo, this brand? And then from there, we got a design team of people who came to those meetings, expressed an interest. Many of them are coaches and teachers. Some of them are in this room right now, who gave lots of their time to get to the point that we could have something that would be extremely proud of. Lots of feedback going on back and forth, especially with Heath offering ideas. This was a very dynamic process in real time. I don't know if any of you ever sit at a computer and have someone watch you type, but it makes my fingers not work, right?
Yeah.
So if you extrapolate that times an entire room saying, don't do that, move that, change that, that's what Mr. Mader did. So I don't know how, but he did it. And then we brought back that design team. We continued to close in on an idea that was representative of what we were after. On last Thursday, we brought in students again, and we brought in anyone that was part of that conversation along with the design team, which gave us where we're at, which brought us to the board meeting tonight, which brings us to the artist himself. I just want to say that it's really neat to bring people together with a common vision. The idea is simple about this logo and brand. We have an incredible opportunity with the new school being built. When the architect team says, what is your school color? Again, they're not asking for maroon. They want the hex code number. We have that. And we have an opportunity to bring everybody together. Quite simply, after this evening, we'd have the opportunity to have the whole community have a brand and a logo that they're like, yep, that's Hayes Highs. And it doesn't matter where you're at, here, near, or far, you would have that. So that's really exciting. The next steps, of course, after this conversation would be to get it out to our press and partners and to get everyone using this. I will say this is the homework of the team. This is called a brand and style guide, and it's a quick infographic, and it's what is our primary mark? If we have a sports team playing, what do we send to the news agency so that it has the logo of the team and it has the logo of our team? What is that mark? And then as you start to study branding and style guides, there are secondary marks and alternate marks. And so what we first educated anyone that was part of this process, this is what we're going to do. If you're going to be part of this, we're going to fill in these squares. And at the end result, by July 17, we're going to come to our school board and we're going to say, this is our presentation of what our team came up with. So I appreciate everyone that's been a part of this, most certainly Heath and his incredible artistic and creative abilities, and deservingly so. He's the one that's going to push the button that puts the logo up there. So thanks for having us. Mr. Bader.
Space bar, this next one.
I think it's down. There you go. All right.
All right, to start off, the primary mark we came up with after a lot of talking, a lot of discussion. We were really thinking through. We had a lot of talk about H's, that just a simple H, like how is it HRs, and also the usage of an arrowhead in the past that has been historically used a lot on different imagery, and bringing that together and through some of the discussions combined into what you see here as the primary mark, in which we brought in some of the different looks with the arrowhead and the H, trying to combine that image to match a style throughout with the letters, as well as some accents. You see the fletchings or the lines coming into the H, symbolizing some of the arrow fletchings that you see on the arrow, bringing in the spearhead, bringing in all the points in a forward direction, showing movement. But again, not leaving the history that we've used similar things before, but this time coming up with something brand new. Even some of the negative spaces, you can see some of the arrow fletchings and that style in the negative spaces inside the H to keep going with that design. Crisp, clean, modern, and again, some of the talks that it's also kind of classic, that it all works together. That is the primary mark. Secondary mark, being able to pull that arrowhead out. This is unique to us. Again, we've had some that we've used in the past. We use some qualities that we like, but this was brand new. There's not another arrowhead like it. There is, this will be unique, just like that H, to Hayes High. As well as inside, where that arrowhead, or where the arrowhead would meet that shaft, we then brought in to follow the same lines in H inside of there to kind of keep some of that look going. Not like it's jumping out at you, but again, some of that cool qualities where it's built in too. And I think this is a nice classic design where you can pull that out as a secondary logo mark, as well as a secondary mark that you can use if you want the entire words coming out. With this, bringing in the arrowhead, bringing in the same letters and font style into a cohesive group that would then look to where you need more of the words and things like that. Through this process, we also wanted to make sure that, again, being that it's unique, the original H design, the primary mark is not a font. It's not someone else can type that letter. It is unique to us. Putting the arrowhead inside, unique to us, to where this is 100% Hayes Highs and USD 49. Continuing on with that, building out an entire set of letters to where now it is the custom Hayes High Indians font. There is nowhere else in the world that has this. It is, ours, to where then you can start building out to where if a jersey says that, it's not like if a jersey or a shirt says Hayes on it in that letter style, it's not something that anyone else is going to be able to type out. It will be unique to our school and our community. Just some examples to see kind of some mock-ups in real life, how that can be transferred, as a primary mark on a gym floor, or whether that be anywhere else on school walls.
So this would be the complete, it still has some work to go, but this would be what we would consider a finished branding style guide. This would be available on our website, on the USD 489 website. We would communicate with our partners that these are our marks. And if you coach for us and you teach for us and you have an activity in our school, there would be a grid and you could use any of those. So you can still have creativity. There's still autonomy. However, instead of 40 logos, we are really, again, top left, that's Hayes. That's Hayes High. I want to comment on the colors. Really interestingly, as we rolled through all of this conversation and to walk through the building where there are pictures from the last 30 years, we had a huge conversation about maroon and gold. And at the end of the day, it was very clear that we're not Vegas gold. That's a color, but it's very, very light. People are like, no, we're gold. And it seems like over the years, as you start to look at gold uniforms, they're incredibly, incredibly distinctive. And really with the current uniforms that we are buying, we're starting to see that gold more. So there are times in our past that we've been a maroon and gold school. Now we're more of a maroon and gold school, right? And so, and specifically, those are the Pantone colors down there. They're very specific. And already today, when I was getting ready for this, you wouldn't have noticed, but my first slide, I went into a custom and I typed in what that code was, and all of a sudden, the maroon was the right maroon. Again, that practice would be done by anyone. that works here and lives here, and those would be those recognizable images. And then if you're going to use them, you would contact the office, much like any partner institution would do to unify that brand. So that's kind of where we are. I mean,
So the top left, that's what's going to be on all uniforms and all anything that has the logo on it, team-wise and everything?
well, again, I think they could use the whole grid. I'll use Coach Dreyer as an example. He's very interested for his hat, for clarity, at baseball from distance, to have the H that does not have the arrowhead on it. But on the back, he'll probably put the arrowhead. And that would be an example of one of our people utilizing the grid. Same with Coach Crow. He could have coaching shirts that are the H without the arrowhead. He could put the arrowhead on the helmet. He could put the H on shirts. I mean, you can start to use that. And again, you could go without a background. You could go with just the outline. You have a lot of options. But for the first time for us in our school, you have to start with that piece of paper. And again, you just start to really bring some level of organization to our brand so that we can rally together around that and put it everywhere that our students and our people are.
So Mike, oh,
They're one, but they've got, what they can use or symbol is, there's 15 options.
Yeah, there'll probably be more. I asked Mr. Mader, another thing is, we have a town that has 4 letters, which is very unique, right? So I'm positive in the future where it says alternate marks, there'll be another one that just says Hayes, right? And that would be another mark that you could pull in and use.
Okay.
so can you kind of talk about, you've got that small little box there that talks about legal, and just my understanding of branding and the control or the policing of it. How are you going to ensure the partners, I mean, and what's the licensing fees and just the process so that if somebody, I mean, we're talking about uniforms, but we could have somebody create a signage or an ad or something. Is there a process of approving, and how is that all going to work?
Yeah.
Or is that still yet to be
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that we're working on. For us, we just had to start with something, even for our own coaches. And interestingly, since I've become the principal, a common conversation is, I wish that we had a logo. And then we, as in all activities, could put it out, and when parents are walking around and stakeholders, they're like, that's us, that's who that is. And I think that's the first step. Yes, we will meet with, and interestingly, we had community partners that are in the print press business, that are in t-shirts and those things. And they, to quote them from the meeting, they're like, we would love to have this infographic, because then when people from the outside come in and say, I want to do this shirt and I have this creative idea to put something, they'll be like, hey, by the way, this is the Hayes High Style Guide. You'll need to follow those guidelines. And that's where that conversation lives originally, yeah.
What's the licensing fee for our partners?
We're going to hand it to them. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to give them this style guide, and the people in town, they're used to that. I promise the Fort Hays does that. They say, hey, this is our style guide. And so we would just work with all of our partners, certainly on the near side.
So that includes our font that you've created too, correct? Is what you're saying? You just hand it to them, or?
Yeah, they'd be able to just have it. Now, that would be something that with font licensing and things that it is not able to be, like, they can't use it on, hey, we have that font now in our computer. We want to make another t-shirt for something totally unrelated and use that, to where that's something that's only used for us, to keep that and that brand recognition and that easily identifiable, that is unique to us, to where they'd have access to it but not able to use it for anything but for Hayes High USD 49 items.
Go ahead, Mark.
Is there one particular that's going to be up on the wall? Is that going to be voted on, or how is that going to be handled?
Yeah, so the vote happened in terms of when we went through this process, the top left primary mark is Hayes High's logo. That's it.
Okay, got it.
But you can certainly use the secondary marks. And one of the things that was a very early conversation is we were interested in developing a secondary mark that fit inside the primary mark. Because we didn't go very far in our meeting when we followed those first non-negotiables that I gave you. If we're not going to use a human likeness, if we're not going to have a face, what are we going to use? the arrowhead immediately came forward. It's part of our history. It's been here. It's part of, and so we said, okay, what if we took that secondary and developed a way, thank you, Heath, for it to live inside and outside of the primary mark. So that's kind of how that came to be. And the way I view it is, your question as to where do we put it, my answer would be everywhere, starting tomorrow morning, possibly. But yeah, like, yes, let's go.
And with primary and secondary, alternate marks, things like that, your primary and secondary marks are going to be the school's main focus. The H with arrowhead is the primary, but if you look at professional sports teams to colleges to other, yes, they have that's their primary mark, but when you look across all of the different aspects, there's always the other ones, like what do you put on a hat? What do you put on the side of a football helmet? What do you put on a letterhead? To where they always have that primary, but that's not necessarily, that's the main logo, if you will, to use. It's just, that is the most identifiable. That is the primary logo. And then you start building through to where there's other uses as well.
Okay.
So did you design the arrowhead yourself, or?
Yes, that was 100% brand new in front of.
Yeah, in front of a lot of witnesses who were saying, no, not like that, do it the other way.
Building through.
It's like-
A lot of
it's very
designing,
dynamic.
lot of designing on my own, and then as we came into the groups, it was dynamic and changing and modifying and building, but 100% unique. There is, besides the fact that there are other arrowhead shapes, that is unique 100%.
Oh, you did a great job. I think that looks beautiful.
That's really cool. Do you have to, all that uniqueness, do we have to do anything, and I'm probably using wrong words as far as copyright, trademark, whatever, do we have to do anything like that to ensure that it remains ours?
Well, he's working as, hi, I'm a trained librarian and I have copyright experience and knowledge. No, because he was working in his role here.
We also
somebody else
We also very publicly showed this on July 17th at 6:30. Like, it was,
You're right.
we're,
Another school
Yeah.
could use it, though.
Another school could take it.
We can sue them.
Yes, there is a creative licensing that goes in from the creation. Much like an artist making a painting, you do not have to copyright that painting, trademark that painting, but if someone does copy it, you are able to pursue legal action.
You did well. This is really cool.
Yeah.
Since I was in high school at Hayes High, on some of the different things like web team and things like that, I remember making random logos when I was in high school, like, oh, we're going to use this, or, what color is it? And as you're working on a website, like, we'll pick this maroon. And long time coming that finally it's like, we have our colors, we have our mascot, our logos, our ideas. The branding is there and finished.
In fiber, is the maroon closer to what you're wearing than what Mr. Henderson is wearing?
Yes, it's slightly darker. We did use using different materials and different vendors with uniforms. What colors are available? What can we get? And we used the colors that we had picked. We had narrowed down some golds, narrowed down some maroons, and in the design groups and things, really looked into what matches the best. The standard T-shirt that is through the community that you can get, that needs to play a role, because if we can't get a close color, to where we did have samples of that, we had samples of brand new uniforms that we had and the colors of fabric that they have, to really pick one that both looks the best but also fits into those realms. So yeah, that is a standard, it's close to a standard maroon T-shirt. It is very close to some of the custom maroon that we've gotten in some of the jerseys and things like that, but it is a color that's a little darker.
and I would say too, one of our partners that was part of this process is in the printing press and said, our Pantone for gold is 123C, meaning coated. But if you print it on something that's not coated and you use that exact Pantone, it looks very yellow instead of gold. So we're probably 109U. So those are, it starts to really get down into the weeds, but the point is that we're always going to try to get back to that and then give people as many tools as they can to guide them to that piece of paper. And I think, and we're all going to learn. Everybody's going to learn and move forward together. But
So do y'all have any finished product that has this on there at all that y'all done for your own sampling?
no, this is it.
This thing's
The paper.
done on Thursday.
I think he was
Okay,
adjusting
okay.
lines this morning. Like, We didn't press it, but let me tell you, this is hot off the press, and this is where we are right now, so that tomorrow we can say, okay, let's go. Let's get this everywhere.
This will be on the letterhead.
Everything, yes.
So what about the Falcons? Because it's a really nice logo. It's really
We
pretty.
actually-
It's great colors.
Through this design process, and there's one on my computer just to see what it looked like using that falcon head that already exists inside of that H, just to see what it looks like as the haze, you know.
I thought our action was a unified logo.
No, it was
I
unified
thought-
colors.
I thought DLNR was going to bring us back some ideas, is what was passed. And
No, the decision by the board was that they would remain, it was decided that the middle school would remain the Falcons.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right.
But the
But
colors,
I
the
thought
colors
that
would
we
be
said-
the same as
I
what,
thought we said
And
logo in
they
the.
are, the colors will be, but right now, we're not gonna go repaint.
Oh, right,
Same
right,
case
right.
middle. We have uniforms that are yellow and black, so that will be all, take time. Yeah. Not much we can do.
The motion didn't include that, but I think our conversation had that.
Yeah, I really did just think it said the same logo, so, but it'll be the same font,
Yeah.
same look, so it'll
And that's,
match.
I mean, it was not, we literally just threw it up as
Have it,
as a
okay.
talk, focusing solely on
The high school.
Hayes Highs. The only talk was like, could you put that? You know, just as someone brought it up, well, sure, I can drag it over to see how it looks. That was as far as it went. That was never part of the plan, as far as what we were creating.
Sure,
we were not charged with developing stuff.
right.
And I wanted to clarify a question that I get a lot is, so we just bought a uniform last year. It has an Indian head on the back of it. Are we taking that away? And the answer would be no, just because they're very expensive. So to be fiscally responsible, as we move forward from tomorrow forward, that would be a conversation. But if we have a uniform that's in year 3, we're going to roll year 3, right? And so maybe not the T-shirts the kids are wearing, but if their uniform has the older logo, we will keep going, certainly. And we will honor all the logos that have ever been part of Hayes High, too. We're figuring out how to do that, too, from a legacy standpoint.
I'm assuming that's the same strategy with letterhead and business cards, et cetera, that this logo would be on. You're just gonna transition it in so that we don't have an upfront high cost.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, really won't
that makes
see.
sense.
So your team, are they through meeting then? Is there another meeting for your team that you've had together, or?
No.
Okay.
They're just waiting for July 17th for us to present this and press send, and it will go out into the world. And
So now Heath can have a summer vacation.
My 2 daughters keep me pretty busy, so.
Yeah.
I think this is excellent. I think you did an excellent job, and I am just totally impressed. So, can't wait to see it. I think the kids are going to be impressed with it. I just think it's just on top of the world, so, good job.
Good job.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for your hard work
Thank you. Absolutely.
and your talents.
All right. Thank you. And
Thank you
so,
very much.
so now we will go on to Section 6, District Communications. 6.1, Superintendent Report with Ron Wilson.
Okay, just some quick items just to update the board on, as far as our bond. Just to update you, schematic design has been completed for Laughlin. Schematic design is that first phase where we sit down and we run through programs and basically kind of lay out the building, which will now jump into design development, where we get a little more specific in the layout. So schematic design for Laughlin has been completed. We spent a lot of hours this summer meeting on that, and we are right in the middle of schematic design for our new elementary school and as well as Hayes Middle, and hope to have that done by the start of the school year. So all schematic design, meaning we'll have tentative idea of where everything is going to be laid out and what we would need. bid opening for our new high school is going to be on August 3rd. We did have the pre-bid vendor meeting last week. We had, I don't know exactly the number of vendors. Not all vendors show up to that, but if they do have the desire to come and see the project before the packages are sent out and ask questions, they have the ability to do. So I know there were probably 75 to, I don't know if there were 100 vendors that, were there. I thought it was interesting. We even had someone from, a vendor from Nashville, Tennessee, who flew in, which I thought was very interesting because it's out there. This is a big project all over, and people are alerted to what's being done here in Hayes. So credit to our partners, DLR and Nabholz, for getting that word out. As far as the Roosevelt bond.
Hey, Ron, real
yeah.
quick, on the high school, do you have a tentative groundbreaking when we can expect it? Just
Yeah,
not a hard date.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's going to be in September. I'm going to say it's probably going to be about the third week in September, but I will get you that exact information. We've had a couple of meetings on that, still trying to dial in whenever we can get everyone. But basically, when we talk the third week of September, that is when we will have everything there, and we will truly be breaking ground. We could have it earlier, but it's still probably going to be, if we had it the first week in September, it's still going to be a couple weeks before we're actually going and getting things started. So I will probably have that to you by next meeting with that. But probably most likely that third week in September. Roosevelt bond update, just, I've included some photos, some information in your packet, as well as just so you understand any work that is being done. Well, on our website, you can look up, you'll go to bond on our web page, then it will take you to another page, and then bond progress, I believe, and then you can look, Roosevelt's the only one right now that has anything on it, because that's the only projects going. But there'll always be things there. As more projects are started, you'll be able to look and see what's being done, especially inside right now. A lot of renovation, a lot of painting of the classrooms, and these are just not all the classrooms. These are, remember, we have several phases being completed here at the Roosevelt. Classrooms are being painted, restroom floors are being done. Those that are being worked on this summer. Classroom ceiling tiles being installed. They've painted some ceiling grid, installing new ceiling tiles. If you've paid attention to the back of Roosevelt, that pad for the temporary modular classrooms has been completed. It's all ready to go. Modular trailers are beginning to get delivered. Right now, I believe there's 5 trailers sitting inside the parking lot of Roosevelt. There's probably room for one more, and there's going to be 11 total. So the park will probably have some appendages for a while until we can get those all set. As they come, we won't have room for 11 trailers inside that parking. So
Do you have the cost for those classrooms? Where is that? They're leased, is that correct?
The what?
Are we leasing the
Yeah,
classrooms?
you will lease them for 3 years.
And what's the cost? Are we purchasing them with that lease in
No,
3 years? Or
no.
what's the total cost?
I would have to get that for you.
But they're brand new, right? They're new.
I don't necessarily know if they're brand new. They would probably have been used. I don't know. I haven't been inside these. I don't know if this is the first time them being used, but
I would appreciate that, yes.
yeah.
Thank you.
And what else? Where did I leave off? Oh, just we're looking to get back everyone. Probably they'll turn it back over to us. Hopefully August 1st, so we can get in. And once again, it's a case where we haven't been able to clean that building yet for summer, and as well as if the gym is completely stockpiled to the ceiling. It's unbelievable how much stuff is sitting in that gym. So we've got a lot of work there's just nothing in the classroom. So we'll have to be doing cleaning and moving So we've got some busy times
So-
starting here in a couple of weeks.
So August 1st is when they'll start the cleaning. When will teachers be able to be there?
We're hoping by the 10th, hopefully.
10th, okay.
Don't quote me on that, Ken. I wish you wouldn't ask me a date. Yeah, I shouldn't have said it. After I said it, I thought, why did you ask it? Why did I say it? Because don't hold to anything. This is the part of construction that is no fun, but it is all for the betterment of everything. So, and my explanation for everyone who is maybe a little, this is just part of how it's got to be, and so we can get better. So
School starts the 15th?
Yeah,
School starts the 7th.
17th.
16th. Teachers report the 14th. So, yeah.
Um,
It'll all work. I've been in worse situations than that, believe me. So,
What about on the north side? That'll be after school starts?
well, no, they're working on that. They'll be working on that. Right.
I just saw, they worked that soil and they took the trees out, but I haven't seen
Yeah,
it.
they'll start foundation work here, I would say, by next week or something. You'll start seeing some foundation.
Have there been any issues with all the rain we've had and everything as they're doing
Yeah,
it?
we did have some water get in the building. That's because when you added all that soil and the trenching along the building had not been taken, and then, who knows? The day they do it is we got 2.5 inches of rain, so.
Yeah,
The good
okay.
news is the rooms where we did get water are rooms that will not be used for next semester. Those are being renovated during the first semester. So if you could ask, not that you want water to get in your building, but if we had to, this was the perfect time to do it. So. Summer projects, other summer projects outside the bond. Of course, we've been doing a big HVAC project at Wilson. We're still a ways out. We've got a couple of weeks where we're going to have to get a lot done. But we're hopeful and told that it will be taken care of. Once again, custodial maintenance will have a big job. Once again, their gym is jam-packed with everything, and they'll have a huge job to move stuff back in and do cleaning as well before they move stuff back in. So we've got some busy times. And a Laughlin work, we're hopeful that those classroom areas will be cleared by next week. So we got one more week with a Laughlin to finish projects up, and most of the building will be able to get back in. There's some gym and cafeteria and kitchen space that they're still holding us off on, but classroom areas will be available. So it should be good at a Laughlin. Just wanted to give the board an update. Hayes Virtual School, you approved Olivia Rice's resignation at the last meeting. And Olivia was our director of Hayes Virtual School the last 3 years. We have decided as an administrative team not to refill that position due to the program changes that Hayes Virtual has made over the last year. With some changes, we feel like we can go forward with Sandra Hickert and Melissa Garrison, who have been, their roles will still remain in place and do the same things. But our district office administration will just fill those roles that Olivia helped me select to do that and take care of that. And also, Russell was officially approved to join our special ed cooperative. The State Board of Ed approved the updates to the cooperative agreement that will bring Russell into the special education co-op starting a year from now. So that's great news, but also just a moment just to thank Kyle. Kyle has put a tremendous amount of work. Seems like it was a fairly simple thing because we didn't really have, you guys heard from Kyle several times. He was at all the other member schools talking to their boards. He did a lot of work, but just the work he put into this cooperative agreement, the time he spent talking with people at the state level to make sure we do this right. And so hats off to Kyle for all the work he did in this to bring Russell into our cooperative here starting a year from now. So.
I just have a question about something not on here. Can you remind me, when does our summer food program end? Because that's about to end, isn't it?
I think it ends here at the end of July.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured
Yeah.
it did.
I just want to thank Olivia Rice because I've been able to attend several of the Hayes Virtual School graduations and a lot of their programs. And between Melissa and Sandra and Olivia, you know, that has really been a special play school for those kids and those families. So I appreciate not only what Olivia's done over 3 years in the transition, but with the continued support of Melissa and Sandra.
I also wanted to thank the summer volunteers, staff that have put their whole heart into making sure the children are fed and their families, and have done other special accommodations for our families and children during the summertime.
Mr. Wilson, we had the drawings or the 3D drawings of the cafeteria and the new furniture that we were getting. Was that done by DLR or who did those?
You mean for the current high school?
Yes. You know, we just approved that 100 and some thousand for
Yeah.
furniture, and we had those drawings of what it was going to look
Yeah,
like.
I believe they're in that meeting. Sean presented that. I don't know what month.
No,
was
just
it?
who did those drawings is what it was. Is that part of DLR's?
No.
No, the vendor.
Yeah. it was
The vendor did
furniture
that?
vendor. Furniture.
Okay, so I've had a lot of questions about the gender neutral bathrooms. Can we get what that's going to look like? I mean, you've described it, but I'd like to be able to, or can we have that on the website so people can see what that's like? And have we surveyed not only the high school parents, but also the middle school parents to see what they think about that?
So, I'll just say it again, and I've said this several times. Gender has nothing to do with the bathrooms. They're private bathrooms. And yes, we have talked to students about it, and students are excited about it.
Is there any conflict with the Senate Bill number 180?
No,
Can we have
it actually
Bill check that out?
it falls in line with it because we're providing a private access for anyone who may not fit that criteria.
I had an opportunity to see the new building. It's not new now, it's like 3 years old at Junction City, or will be starting their third year. But they have gender neutral bathrooms, but they're kind of like what you see at Walmart. They have two separate built ones for that. And I think that we need to look at that and make sure we're not in violation or that 180, check that out.
Well, Alan, that's been answered. He's discussed, these aren't gender neutral, they're private bathrooms. Mr. Wilson, did you have any more on, right now we need to go on to 6.2, the budget
You're not
update?
gonna let me finish my comments?
They weren't on point.
They were what?
They were not on point, Alan. They were added,
I think it's part of the bond and part of bond planning, and I think it's something that we should be checking to make sure.
Okay.
And just sweeping over it, it's not probably, that's what we've been doing.
No, we've asked the question like 5 times at different meetings, so.
Asked you to put it on the agenda, and it's not on the agenda yet.
Okay. Right now, we're going to go to 6.2. Chris, if you can give us yours.
Sure. A couple of different budget updates. First, So I'll start with just a quick overview. As you know, July 1, closing the books doesn't happen on July 1. We have to get through the first payroll of July because that's part of that pay period has some hours worked in June. And so we have to journal that back into previous fiscal year. But we're getting closer to having the exact transfers to close out the year. It looks like we're going to be somewhere around the $80,000 to $90,000 in unexpended cash that we'll be able to probably spread across 3 different funds that will help us next year in reducing the amount of transfers. One would be at risk because we spend a ton more in at risk than the weightings that we get for at risk. So we'll put some of that money in at risk just to help us with the transfers next year, with the required transfers next year to fund that fund. Another is The professional development fund, we'll probably put a little bit in there because we're moving. It's going to look like when we present the full budget, it's going to look like we're increasing our professional development expenditures a lot. We're not. Right now, we've got those expenditures for professional development mixed throughout general fund and supplemental general, and even a little bit in at-risk for certain trainings that were eligible. We're moving all of those, consciously making an effort to move all of those, consolidate them into our actual professional development fund to maximize the KSDE reimbursement. That years ago, you used to get a percent reimbursement when you spent money out of your professional development fund. That went away when budget times were tight. It's now back, and so to maximize that, we just need to move it into professional development fund. So we'll put a little bit in there, and then the balance will probably look at going into our textbook fund with the reduction in fees and using the free and reduced then to reduce certain parent fees, along with the large expenditures this year for textbooks, getting ready for the next couple of rounds of textbooks that will be coming in the next couple of years. So we'll have final numbers by next meeting, but looks like that's where we're at there. The other thing I want to talk about is the revenue neutral rate. So if you remember back in a couple of years ago, legislature added a requirement for what's called the revenue neutral rate. And basically what the revenue neutral rate says is if your levy, if the same mill, or basically if your levy increases the revenue, so the dollar amount that you need to notify the county clerk by July 20th, because they have to do a mailing to each one of the taxpayers in the taxing district. So the way that it works, because the mill levies are based on the county evaluation. So for example, legislated that we do 20 mills for general fund, right? We don't see that it goes straight to Topeka, but it's set at 20 mills. When the county valuation goes up, 20 mills will generate more money than it did the year before. And so most every year, we're going to be in a situation where we are going to exceed the revenue neutral rate if the county valuation goes up. And so this will be the first year that we actually have to pay for that mailing, and the first 2 years of the law being in effect, the state picked up the cost of that. But this year, we'll provide notice to the county clerk that will exceed the revenue neutral rate, and then they'll send a mailing out, and we'll get billed for that mailing. From there, it acts and works really just like our publishing and adopting the budget does. So we'll publish the revenue neutral rate before the budget hearing. We'll publish the Code 99, which is the taxing page, basically, that's setting the mill levy for the budget. We'll publish those, and then on September 11th, we'll schedule our budget hearing that day. Right before the budget hearing, we'll have the revenue neutral rate to address the mill rates there, and then address them again with the budget hearing. So that's kind of the process of how revenue neutral rate works. All of that being said, the total mills for the school district will go down this year. We were at 52.375. That was with the addition of the bond for the first time last year. We'll go down to 51.463. So even though that's a reduction in our mills, it's still the county valuation went up about 40 million on all of the funds, about 38 million on general fund, and so those will exceed the revenue neutral rates. We'll provide that notice.
Mr. Hebb,
Yes.
so what percentage is our budget going up?
Because
we're generating more money.
Each piece of it will be a little bit different, but loosely, the base state aid went up about 5%. So budget will be up about 5%. A little more in different places, but generally speaking, that's what base state aid did. And that's where that 20 mills comes in and goes to the state, and it comes back to us based on student FTE. So to compare where we sit right now, we went to similar sized 5A districts as well as all of our league schools, and you can see state average is 51.224 for all funds. This year we were at 52.375. We'll go down to 51.463. So just to kind of give you a comparison. similar sized schools, laid that out there. If you remember, when you calculate, this will be the second year now, general fund levy is a little bit different. The first $40,000 of home value comes off the top. Prior to last year, it was $20,000 of that exemption doubled. So you'll see, you'll feel that again this year in your homeowners, but then we added just a quick example of how you calculate the mills and what that would look like on a $200,000 home. Similar to some of the info that we had out with the bond. Come here, some of that.
Chris, good information, especially on the bond, on the mill levies, how we fit with the different districts our size, and the revenue neutral. The state picked up the charge for that mailing the first 2 years, and now it's an unfunded mandate.
Yeah, we'll pick that, and the county clerks or our county clerk, we've been working back and forth to get an estimate. This is the first time, this is new for them too, so they're working through what the actual cost would be. We're planning on up to $7,000, $8,000, something like that.
So that'll affect a lot of school districts around the
So
state.
every taxing entity will end up having to pay their share.
Pay their
So
own.
we don't do the revenue neutral rate, even though, the rec commission runs their mills through us. They do their own revenue neutral, but they'll pay a share of the mailing cost, just like us and any other taxing entity.
Thank you.
So do you have a draft of the budget that we could get?
We're working through, so we've got the taxing funds, basically, so the levying funds are through to be able to calculate all of that, but working through the rest of it.
Or what's the date with the the August meeting will be approving the budget?
September 11th.
September 11th.
Propose that we do the budget hearing.
Okay. Are the building needs assessments completed like you did last year? Like
Yes,
these?
Yeah.
yes, those will be, and we will review those with the board on August 7th.
On August 7th? Okay.
During the retreat.
Is that that's the
for-
retreat?
Street, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate all that you do. All right, we'll move on to Section 7, action and discussion items. 7.1 is the student handbooks for 2023 through 24. Our second read. Like to make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question. It has to do with the Hayes High Handbook. I see that GPS is no longer going to be associated with pass-fail. Is there a reason for that? It was struck out, if I read it right.
Where are you at, Kurt?
I was on Hayes High's,
Do you know which page? I'm sorry.
Page 12?
page 7, I think.
Page 7, let's see.
Is it still pass-fail? I didn't read it. Okay, and it's the 8. Because what I had read, it was 8 days if they had to attend or didn't attend, then it was,
The absences?
Yeah.
Oh, I think our discussion about that one, in just talking with our BLT, rather than tying a grade pass-fail to absences, we thought it was more applicable to tie that grade of pass-fail to how you use your time in the course.
so whoever's in charge of GPS is going to sign those? And then, but there is some kind of, Accountability for being there.
Time-wise,
Okay.
yes.
yeah. That's the only question I have, Mr. Brooks.
Any other
I
discussion?
really don't have a question. I just want to thank all the administrators in all the buildings. I know how much time, and as I read through it late at night, it took a little bit of time to read through it. It did clarify a lot of things, and a lot of the wordage you took out needed to be taken out, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Becky, you made me tired of reading. I can't imagine how much work it was to put all that in there. I was like, a lot of changes.
This is all the student handbooks. When are we going to approve the other handbooks of the district? Like board handbook, administrative handbook, classified handbook? Board policy BDA says that all handbooks shall be approved by the board and adopted.
I was going to say board handbook, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Yeah,
Well,
policies.
It's a policy.
policy, that's where I was.
Not the board handbook, the one that you sent me before, that's a handbook.
We've never approved a board handbook, so I don't know what you're referring to.
Okay. So what about classified and
Those
administrative
will be
handbooks?
upcoming. We haven't had the opportunity to go
Upgrade
through
that? So we'll do it later?
Yeah, these are time sensitive because of the new school year, so that we've
I'm
got.
just trying to say, it's that we're supposed to do it every year, and so I just want to know when we're going to do it. And do you have an administrative handbook, or you don't have one?
Yeah, we have administrative handbook.
Okay, well, we have an opportunity to look at that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, thank you.
I would also remark that the West Side handbook does have
Yeah, got
some or, you know,
German. It's like
whatever
some
that is.
German there at the beginning.
Whatever that
Yeah,
is.
Yeah,
I'm imagining that is
that's just the formatting. Yeah, it'll all get
corrected
fixed.
in the one
Okay.
that we're working with now.
Need some updates.
Well, I mean, the only other thing is like, what are your board policies and PSIs on those? And so when that's included in handbooks, and if you update that, we'll make those changes. Just know you're approving it, knowing that we will update it to match policy, the policy changes. So it's an ongoing thing, obviously. We're not gonna cut something like that, but
And
just
these,
for the record.
all our policies are the same ones that the KSB has sent out, identical to what theirs are. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I'm going to call for a vote. It's been motioned and seconded. All those in favor to approve the handbooks as presented, vote yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, vote no. All right, sounds like it was approved 7-0. We will go on to 7.2, KSB recommended board policy updates. Alan was just mentioning those, so I'd make the motion to approve the KSB recommended board policy updates as presented.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
I would like to ask, just to confirm, I think I know the answer, but our legal counsel, Mr. Jeter, you've seen all these as well, I'm assuming.
I have. Actually, I got with Jess this morning, she faxed me or emailed me so I could download all the recommended changes. And they're all based on either change in federal law, or Kansas statute, or some language updates.
So not only has our local legal, so has the legal at KASB.
Yes.
So it's gotten quite a lot of
Yeah.
eyes.
All right. All right, with that, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor to approve the KSB recommended board policy updates as presented, vote yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, vote no. Not hearing any no's, I take it approves 7-0. So we will go to 7.3. Let's see, do we have a presentation or some discussion?
Yeah, it's available. This is just to look at 30 business lab and 15 tech lab desktop machines for the HMS business lab and tech lab. So, Scott, you got anything you want to share?
No, it's pretty much simple as that. These machines, Mr. Palliser, you were still at the middle school when we put them in?
8 years ago.
Yep.
Yes.
That was my first summer here. Like first couple weeks here, we unboxed them and set them up. They've been running. We've done some updates to them since, new solid state drives, RAM upgrades, and they've gotten us through. But what we've done the last couple years, especially with ECF funding and getting some of the student devices through, it's kind of freed up and given us the opportunity now to focus on those labs. We did high school labs last summer, so we've done, high school labs last year, part of the HMS yearbook lab last year. We're finishing up the HMS yearbook labs, just left the business lab and the tech lab as our two labs to finish up, so it's kind of over here.
There's 2 labs being dealt with here?
Yes. Yep, business lab, 30 machines, and then the technology lab is 15 machines.
And these are all desktops?
Yes.
Okay.
It's desktops, it's monitors, and then separate from this, but still another purchase I'm making are the mounts to go on the back of it. So as far as what you'll see when you walk into the labs, it's the micro PCs. They'll be secured up and behind the monitors. So over what the current lab setup is, we have the tower stacked. So I think that will actually free up some space in there. I did go with wired keyboards and mice. I don't know. I just wasn't brave enough to try wireless ones with the middle school kids.
That's for the best.
Scott, since this is just kind of a generic comment, and one of the first things I know when I was on the board, you brought that schedule replacement and how, so obviously, I love how you all have really been guiding us through some of that funding and extra funding we got, and it was able to be more progressive and to get some of our technology updated. Perhaps something to just plant a seed. I think it would be good to bring that schedule back in front of when you get new board members at this table next year, just to, because I thought that was really helpful for me to understand the scope of what all that you have on your plate.
Yes, we've had that discussion even internally. Some of the fast tracking and replacing of devices has kind of thrown that schedule a little bit amiss, but getting that updated, and I know Mr. Hipp and I have talked about that even on the staff side of that, somewhere in Skyward actually getting some information in there. So should be a little easier for me, even when we talk staff device replacement, student device replacement, that we can have those numbers pretty, readily available. So, and I know that'll play into that schedule too.
So,
Mr. President, may I make the motion to approve 30 Business Lab and 15 Tech Lab desktop machines for the HMS Business Lab and Tech Lab from Dell Technologies for $39,599.10.
I second it.
all right, real quick, one question on that. The old stuff, will it be, is it too outdated, or will it be put up somewhere, or what will happen to it?
So what we've done in the past, actually, that one's a little harder than just throwing it on Purple Wave.
Right.
We could technically do that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I do have a tech recycler that I work with out of Oklahoma that came up last year. I mean, they cleared out one of our storerooms over there, and I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $40,000. So, I mean, they'll take the desktops, iPads, and just even the stuff that is of no value, just, old printers and things like that, they'll at least take it and recycle it, and I get certificates of destruction and just the standards by which they destroy it. I know it's not just getting thrown in a landfill or something like that.
So we will get potentially some funding that
Yep.
will offset.
Yep.
And will you bring that to the board so we can approve that process?
Yes.
It's like surplus property, we're supposed to.
Yeah, it gets surplused out.
Yeah, it's the same process. It's just his reference to Purple Wave is normally that's our process.
So you'll bring it back to the board when you do that?
Yeah, when it gets surplused, yeah, it's just, normally I'll go with the other
You
vendor.
give it like an estimate of what it is and show us what we're gonna be doing with it, or?
They don't really, I mean, it's hard to get an estimate on it. I mean, they take it back and it's kind of market value at that time of destruction, if they can't. If they can repurpose the machines and sell them off to a third party as remanufactured, they'll do that. Otherwise, they can melt them down, strip them for valuable metals, things like that. So it's, I would say these being 8-year-old machines, probably a little less value in them. Where we're turning over laptops, like the student ones that went out that were 5 years old. There's a little more still value out there because they could potentially resell them. But I mean, I can ask for an estimate and see.
That'll be done after you get these back here, and that would be September when you'll be doing that?
It can vary. I mean, I've probably got enough stuff over there that we can get them back out here at some point. I just don't have. I will tell you that the part I struggle with is that not a lot of people want to drive to Hays, Kansas to pick up computers. So making it worth their while. So what we just cleared out was almost 3 years worth of stuff. Trying to make it worth somebody's time and effort to drive a box truck out here and pick it up. So I can't say that it would be gone this fall. I would like it gone this fall. I don't like sitting on stuff, but
It's not going to be in next week.
No.
So can we make it just a blanket approval to allow him to go ahead and.
Well, we've got a motion and a second, so we do need to vote on that.
Okay.
And so I'm going to call for the vote. And so all those in favor for the motion to approve these 30 business lab and 15 tech lab desktop machines, vote yes.
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 And those against, vote no. All right. It's approved, and so we'll go on. Thank you. Oh, and you're still here. I know why you're standing there. All right, so we'll let you continue.
So 7-4, it's, we kind of go through this every summer. It's a good problem to have. Our enrollment's going up. So this is just increasing those student devices at Hayes High. We don't really have the problem with the iPads. The enrollment numbers, K-8 have shuffled, and I think we'll have enough to cover that. But the enrollment at the high school, we just want to make sure that we're covered. When I went back and looked, ECF funding in rounds 1 and 2, we bought 60 machines, then 900, put us at 960. We actually did, I went back and looked, there was a purchase last year too. That put us right at about 990. So the 80 machines here should put us about 1,070. Probably a little bit less. We have had some damage, some lost in the last few years. I think we'll still come in somewhere between that 1,060, 1,070 mark, which should exceed, I think, the enrollment projections, but it gives us some spares to have out there if we've got devices we need to do loaners with, something like that. I kind of told Superintendent Wilson we seem to, on an average week, I think, run about 20 loaners. That varies from week to week. Obviously, we do some mandatory checks before breaks and things like that, so we see a higher, fixed rate at that point. But I think this number should put us at a good number to not only get a device to every student, but keep spares on the shelf for students.
Are these
Also helps us for the future because we have a fairly large 8th grade class. So the high school will see probably another jump next year. So we'll have those, hopefully enough machines to take care of all our high school next year, not this coming year, but fall.
So you wouldn't have to come back to the board
Yeah.
again next year just because of the.
I hope.
So I'm writing that down. You won't be back next year.
Are they
Not
the
that we
same
don't like to see you,
computer,
Scott.
same size and everything?
Similar. They're not exactly the same. The first purchase we made back in ECF were the 3190s. Last year was 3120s. This will be a 3140. And really what that tells you when you look at the model number, we're still shifting. It's still their 3000 series model. It's still a 2-in-1. It's just the generation of processor shifting. So that's why you see that 9 to 2 to 4. So from that standpoint, similar. The looks of the machines might be slightly different. I think a gray case versus a darker gray, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's from student to student. It's not, that I'm giving student A a better machine than student B. They'll be spec similar.
When's the high school lease up? When will we swap them all out?
The
One more
rotation?
year? Yeah.
We're 2 years in, so I think we have 2 more years on.
2 more years.
So they'll come out about the time when we, fingers crossed, are moving across the parking lot.
Mr. President, may I make the motion for us to accept this proposal for Dell computers, 80 computers for the high school in the cost of $53,331.20.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, then I'll call a vote. All those in favor, vote yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, vote no. All right, hearing no no's, we'll go on. That is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, and we're moving to 7.5, request for approval of purchase of equipment of Hayes High School dish room renovation.
Yeah, this is just fairly simple, just a little remodel that we're doing in the dish room at Hayes High. We have a dishwasher that is over 20 years old, is in dire need of, probably going to the purple wave world. And we also have a garbage disposal, I believe. And also there's going to be some, I believe, some tables that are going to be moved around and a little redesigned that will help with some staffing issues. We don't need as many people in that dish room just because of the way it was designed and set up. So a lot of thought's been put in, and I think this is just part of something we need to take care of.
Okay.
That dishwasher's been dying for years.
Yeah.
Will our staff install, or is that vendor install?
I honestly, I don't know.
The equipment is part of the bid. Our staff is gonna move a little bit of duct work because they're moving where it sits right now, just to be more efficient. So our staff will have a little bit of stuff to do, but most of it's vendor installed, part of the bid.
So I'm sure it's set in there where it was when we remodeled to the new, and they probably never changed any of that dishwasher area, where they just cut a hole in that slot and dumped it.
That's exactly, yeah. So as it sits right now, it's not efficient at all.
Because
everything
everything came from.
window, and then over here is the sink, and then over here is the dishwasher. So while they're replacing all this stuff, they're just making it an efficient line to run down. So it'll be huge improvement for
The
staff.
previous bond before they.
Great.
It was all came in from a different direction.
So would this, so we have, if there would be some discussion about remodeling that kitchen at the old Hayes, or is it going to be where it's going to be?
Yeah, this is the way you would do it if you were going to build a brand new one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. President, I'm on a roll. I'm
Yeah.
just going to go ahead and make another motion to approve the purchase of equipment from Sunflower Restaurant Supply for $53,000, $884 for the Hayes High dish room renovation.
I second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Do we have a?
Any further discussion?
How many other bids did we have?
One.
We had one.
It's the only one.
Sent to
Yeah,
5 vendors, it says, and received 1 bid back.
Yeah, it says that in your packet.
It's pretty specialized equipment, and they're really the only group that does that stuff. Should say too, over the last couple of years with the increase in some of the federal funds, again, similar to the tech conversations, food services has been in a good situation. We've got enough carryover. This is all food service funds. It's not coming out of capital outlay or general funds. It's food service funds.
And it looks like you're either trying to do it when we have days off in October or in January. You think you can make it that long? We're going to do it.
Made it over 20 years. Yeah.
There's paper,
Yeah, paper
they got
plates.
paper plates and plastic stuff shows
fingers.
up, it shows up.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, then I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. And all those opposed, vote no. All right. It hasn't popped up yet, but it's all yeses.
It's thinking low, slow.
Should we?
Just want a thumbs up.
We're in
Yeah.
purgatory.
Anybody else hearing the theme song to Jeopardy?
Jeopardy? Yeah.
All right. Okay, we'll move on then.
7-0.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to 7.6, the request for approval to accept KSDE Safe and Secure Schools Grant for adding school resource officers for 2023 through 2024. Ron, would you like to tell us about this?
Yeah, we've had conversations here at the board level about school resource officers. I think it was a couple months ago that I shared with you that in conversations, we just didn't think we were going to be able to go forward with this. We did submit an application for the grant that was made available through KSDE. We were awarded the grant. It's a matching grant, meaning we pay 50%, the state provides 50%. We kind of reopened the conversations once again with the city of Hayes as well as HPD. Had great conversations. We've been meeting several times to process this. Through the conversation, basically we came to an agreement that the district would fund 70% of the cost for the school resource officer. The city of Hayes would support 30% of the cost. Basically, in a sense, it's we would have that officer in our district roughly about 170 days. The remainder of the days would be then served in the city on the streets or whatever capacity they choose to have that officer work in. I think this is a great thing, something we've really been making hard strides to try to always look at our safety and security for our schools. We really felt like, along with what we added last year, the alert system, the Raptor that the board approved, along with adding an armed school resource officer, we felt like just another step to try and get some improved safety and security for our schools. And so I am very appreciative of the work that the city pays as well as HPD working together with us. Of course, these always come down to really primarily budget issues and how we can budget funds. Right now, this year, we will still receive our grant, and that will help us pay our cost. Approximately, we'll pay about $33,000 this year. Of course, those costs will dramatically increase next year, as this grant is only for newly hired school resource officers. So in a sense, it's just a one-year grant. That's at this point right now, that's how we're moving forward, knowing that there will be an increased cost coming up next year.
And we currently have how many SROs?
Zero school resource
Compared
officers.
to those schools that are our size or bigger that have at least 2, if not 4 or 5?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, schools our size primarily have at least 2, like Tammy said, even up to 5 or more. So this is a step in the right direction, and I feel once again I'm appreciative of the city of Hayes as there was a lot of negotiations in terms of how can we make this work. So really appreciated their work towards working with us.
And this model is very similar to the other, that's split.
Yeah, I mean, everyone of the information I provided in your packet, you see in a lot of these other communities, it's usually a cost share program. It's not one, with the exception of, I think, Riley County, who does provide a full participation for school resource officers in the schools in Manhattan. So I think this is a really good thing. We're excited. I mean, it does not, I always want people to understand, doesn't necessarily always prevent tragedy by having someone with a weapon inside the school. But we see it also not necessarily as much that. We feel like it has a real positive impact in our schools with our students, in making connections. Anyone who has, had school in the past, Hayes has had school resource officers, and I think I've heard, of course, Assistant Police Chief Dawson is a former school resource officer. I don't know all the names, but I know
Ridgeway was one.
Yeah, I think every one of them have positive have things to say about their time. So we feel like that's a great thing.
Will it be mainly stationed at the high school, or how will all that work?
We will, I would say we're going to office the school resource officer at Hayes High. We see the need there, probably the biggest need. Although this school resource officer would be available to serve other schools if needed for various capacities, depending upon what we see as important. So, but they will have an office at Hayes High.
Mr. Wilson, as a school board member and as well as a parent, this is awesome. I was very excited to read this. I read all these handbooks. The elementary, the middle school, the high school handbook all talk about having campus police officers and school resource officers, both plural, so they're in all 3 handbooks. I'm happy to know that somebody's there just in case, and somebody's there now. We're not waiting on somebody in case something happens. So I'm telling you, as a parent, I feel good that safety is a priority for my kid at these schools.
Agreed.
And teachers. There were times as teachers that was an issue too. So I thank you very much for that.
I would totally agree, and working with Assistant Chief Dawson and Chief Scheibler, you know, in the past when I was even in the buildings, it wasn't always on, like you had mentioned, a threat issue or something. There is so many times that they were responsible for just giving us good information or coming to work with the administrators on parental or custodial disagreements. A lot of times the biggest threat is somebody that is upset at the family level and it brings it to school. And so they can help that out also.
And this is just intended to be during the school day. I know, like with, I have observed at athletic events, there's an officer usually there. That's not the same thing. So evening events.
Yeah, we'll still do the same thing in providing officers on
This
events.
just more during the day.
Yeah, this
Okay.
will be just during school.
Will it be the same person every day or just?
Yeah, it'll be the same person.
Okay.
Yeah. They want to-
Yeah, he'll be hired specifically for this, is my
Not
understanding.
necessarily
He or she.
This
He or,
person will
well,
be
I'm
hired.
sorry, yes, this person will be
Thank you,
hired.
Mr. Brooks.
Yeah, sorry, I was not thinking.
I noticed that Julie Zollinger was hired for a new position that kind of went along with.
Yeah, that's technically not a new position, where
Okay.
it's just how we're paying. It does, you're right, it is correct, it does do with school safety. Julie has served in that capacity as a coordinator for our school safety and security. As a coordinator role, she does a lot of work for us. We've been just paying her, you know, keeping a time card and having her at the end of the year kind of turn that in. We just decided it'd be best just to put her on our supplemental, you know, list. And that way we have a dedicated position. And so she's doing the same thing she's always, it's just how we're paying her.
I see.
So she won't actually keep a time card. It's just a dedicated amount that
Okay.
she receives.
Okay.
All right, I'll make the motion to approve the KSDE Safe and Secure Schools Grant for the addition of a school resource officer for Hayes 489 schools for the school year 2023 through 24.
Second.
I have a question. Just as we move forward, this person gets hired, they will be a police officer who works at our school.
Yeah,
Does that mean they will report to Chief Scheibler? I always add an extra,
Yes.
Scheibler? And they will be an employee of the city?
Yes,
So we will pay the city
yes,
this portion of their costs?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, not a Hayes USD 49 employee.
okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, vote yes?
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, vote no. All right. And hearing no votes, it's approved 7-0, and we will go on to 7.7 Board Committee Appointments. And this is one where it's a discussion, and I'm going to do just like Craig did last year. I'm going to ask that if there's anybody who wants to be on a committee that's not, let me know. And then also if you're on a committee and would like to come off of that, let me know that also. And then I'll make those assignments. Does that sound good?
I would like to remain on the Early Childhood Connections Committee, Policy Committee.
Okay.
He's over now. I don't see him. Well, there it is. I see him.
Yeah, it's the very top one. That's what she's asking.
I would like to continue to serve those two committees that I represent.
All right.
I'm on the Hayes Rec Committee, Reclamation Board. If, does any, I will continue working with the Hayes Rec and Roger unless somebody desires.
Okay.
They do an excellent job. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll continue.
Okay, and Megan, you said you'd like to continue where you're
Yeah,
at, or?
I'm happy to stay where I am. I haven't had a meeting this year, so is that
What's your
accurate? 'Cause
committee?
I haven't.
Technology.
committee?
Is Mr. Summers still here?
No, he left.
Okay,
I was gonna ask him, but we were with other business.
all right.
That's
We-
okay.
We'll find out about that.
That's fine. I don't mind not having a meeting.
All right. Well, it sounds like everyone's wanting to stay the same. I'll look at these, and at our August 7th meeting, I'll go ahead and let you know. And then, let's see, 7.8, Board Attorney Contract. Alan, you asked for this to be moved from consent.
Yeah, I'd just like to have some discussion on this. I requested to have this on last meeting's agenda so that we can have it done prepared before this. Since it's on this agenda, I have to go with that. This looks like the same contract we had last year, so no changes or adjustments. The one thing that, and I mentioned this last year, is we do have a contingency. If we have 3 meetings, it bumps up to 3,000. If it's 2 meetings, it's 2,000. But there's no mention that there's just 1 meeting a month. We have several meetings that are 1 meeting a month. And so I was just wondering about that process of why it's not moved back down if we just have 1 meeting a month to 1,000.
If I could ask a clarifying question, this may make a difference on that, Alan, but, so that was number 1 on the contract that you were talking about. Number 2 talks about that you have an hourly rate for any services incurred relating to negotiations, due process, litigation. My question is, Bill, when we call you, I know I've called you a lot, where does that fall, or is that just absorbed in the
That's part of it.
$2,000?
That's part of it. The retainer doesn't just reflect coming to meetings, it reflects everything I do during the month, whether it's talk to a school board member, or answer a question from staff.
So that,
Unless
all
it-
of that
unless it fits within one of those hourly rates, and I used to do a lot of that. I used to do negotiations, so that was above and beyond just coming to meetings. And we did a lot of due process work too, which we don't do anymore. Those were very time consuming.
You've been our attorney for how many years? A long time.
So I started doing it when my dad was a school board attorney, when I started practicing law in 1975.
So I am currently paying off an attorney, and I have a significantly higher hourly rate that I'm paying here. So I just think you're a bargain, and I want to point that out. I was going to say that he has not inflated his hourly rate. It's very special.
Well,
It's a specialized practice that, you do it, you know a lot about it. If you don't do it, you don't. But my hourly rate doesn't reflect the expertise I have.
No, it sure doesn't.
well, and I'll reiterate what Tammy has said. I mean, I've been able to call you and received advice from you, and that's never been anything more than what's on that. So I think you do a great job, and it's a good base fee.
Right.
Did you get your original question answered?
What was it?
No, that's why I wanted to ask my question, because that is an element in
I
addition.
agree.
No, that's why,
I
but
agree,
no,
but
we didn't answer that.
The other thing I was curious about, when was it when it was changed that you came to all the meetings? Was it like 7 years ago?
I used to not go to meetings, and I was paid by the hour for everything that I did. And then the school board, at some point, it was probably maybe 8, 10 years ago, decided they wanted to do meetings. And I remember Richard Kane actually did a survey of a number of different districts as to whether the board attorney came to meetings or not. And it was split, and it was all over the place. Even some of your larger districts, I recall at that time, like Wichita, their board attorney did not attend.
I appreciate you being
The board wanted
here.
me to come to meetings, and that was just the decision that the board at that time made. And so we tried to come up with a proposal that was fair to everybody. And one thing that the retainer does, I mean, there are some months where maybe I get paid a little more than the time I had in it. There are other months where it's the other way around, where it works against me. But what it does for the board, it provides something you can readily budget.
Have you billed, I mean, have you done some work for $175 this
No.
year?
No.
There was not anything that was necessary this year?
There hadn't been since I quit doing negotiations.
I would like to echo some of the comments you said. Every time that I've asked questions or very open, come in and I'll explain it, not had to worry about time or anything. He was excellent and the staff was excellent. So I want to make sure that I agree with all that.
That's the advantage that you have with retainer.
Mr. Chairman?
You can feel free to contact me. It's not going to cost you the issue.
I move that we approve the board attorney contract.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, then I will call for a vote. All those in favor, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, vote no. All right, passes 7-0 then.
I mean, I have to come back next time.
You do. You do. You're not getting out of it now.
Absolutely.
You made too good of a...
You turned in a contract.
I do think it's important, though, to say that I appreciate that your contract says that somebody from your firm would be here in your absence if you can't, but you're rarely gone, and greatly appreciate that you make this such a commitment.
Yeah. All right, so we will move on to 7.9 personnel transactions. And as we start that, I do want to say there's a resignation on here that is somebody that I think has made a great impact on our high school many years, Sue Ellen Stanger. And I just want to point out what a great job she's done and what a terrific counselor she's been, and she will be missed.
She's remarkable. I'm sad about that, but she's going to do cool things, I think, so it's very exciting.
It is. Alan, you pulled this out. Do you have something you're wanting to say?
Basically, I just would like to maybe, hopefully, we can have some discussion at our retreat about the different, and I'd like a list of all the, we've had several here lately of connections and movement to buildings where the supervisor, and we've had to change the supervisory role of administrators so that family member can be there. And so I'd just like to discuss that a little bit at our retreat.
Okay.
Is there any
I think we talked about, I'll just pull back from last month since I was president, that Alan, if you desire to put it on the retreat agenda, you're more than welcome to do it. And I think that was clear.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the personnel transactions as presented.
And I would second, please.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, vote yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, vote no. Hearing no no's, I feel it's approved. We do not have any executive session.
Nope.
Nope. And so, without any further business, we are adjourned.
Good job.
Thank you. Yeah.
Nice leadership, Mr. Brooks.
Good job.